Hello, happy Friday. Welcome to the IT Hour. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. We are glad to have you all with us. I see we're chit-chatty this morning, which is good to see. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us to talk about some really cool stuff. I always love it when we have topics like this that are new and exciting. So, I don't know about you all, but it's been an interesting week here in North Carolina. We've had Tropical Storm Debbie kind of slowly making her way through here, which has meant lots of rain and not a lot of wind, but a little bit. We've had some tornadoes crop up through here. Interesting times. So, how are you all doing? You have to come off mute. One of you does.
I'm very well. I'll just silence my air conditioner behind me because it's been very bright here in the UK at the moment. Cambridge, that is, but yet to do any punting.
And I finally got to turn our little portable AC off in the mountains of Colorado, where we never used to need AC. But the weather has moved our way. So, yeah, cozy Friday. We're here in my neck of the woods.
Yeah, we are welcoming some rain in Colorado because we've been having
Yes.
some wildfires along the Front Range. So it's been a good week.
Great. Yeah, it has felt like the last 3 weeks have been a lot of rain. I think my yard is permanently soggy at this point. My plants are starting to kind of look a little yellow and wilty just because of, I mean, it's not bad to have a lot of rain and refill all the reservoirs and stuff compared to when I lived in California and it was perpetually a drought, but I wouldn't mind some sunshine, just not hot, because when it is sunshine, it's, in the 80s and 90s. So I guess the cooler weather is better. So I'm seeing people saying happy Friday and everything in the chat. Welcome, y'all. We are glad to see some of our regular faces and maybe some new ones as well. I always love it when I flip through the list of names and I see a variety of names and then I see network administrator, which I love that somebody chose that as a screen name. That's always fun. All right. So today we community news is kind of quiet. We've got a lot of conversations going on, but not some of the new conversations. So they're just ongoing things. So I'm going to skip that update this week and just go ahead and have us jump into the main topic. So I know Hugh and Lindsey have been on before, but I'm going to go ahead and have y'all reintroduce yourself for anyone who's new. And we have a new guest, Julie. So let's go ahead and have y'all give quick introductions about who you are and what you do here at JumpCloud.
So I'm Lindsey, and I'm one of those old school JumpCloudians. I think I've been here since we were a wee company back in Boulder downtown before we became the big thing that we are. But my contributions today in the now are in the realm of product, and I lead the directory team of product managers here. And then I happened to get pulled in to a project with Hugh, which has been fantastic. It's been a wild ride. And so I'll hand things over.
Thanks, Lindsey. I'm Hugh. I'm part of the JumpCloud Labs team. As Joel used to describe it, we like to run around and chase butterflies and look at all things new and interesting and evaluate whether they're a good fit for JumpCloud. So I'm obviously a bit of an engineer here, and I've been at JumpCloud for going on a year and a half now. I came following the security acquisition, which was a IT compliance platform, and since then been focusing on a variety of interesting and novel projects, but been working as of late with Lindsey and Julie. which we're going to share some exciting stuff with you.
And I'm Julie. I have had a little bit of a journey with JumpCloud. I was originally here in 2018 and 2019 as a product manager. Funny enough, at the time, Lindsey was on our user experience team, and I went away for a little bit, had a bit of a career transition, and I've come back on our user experience team, and now Lindsey is the product manager. So we've sort of swapped. But since I've been back, it's been over a couple years now, and super excited to be here and to share what we're going to share.
Awesome. That's great. I'm laughing at in the comments because they're talking about Lindsey's been here long enough that it was, back when we were maybe jump fog or jump mist or jump dew, because that's how we've evolved into JumpCloud. So that was funny.
We literally had, I think, 6 developers, no front end, which was really exciting to be a UX designer when we only had 1 full stack engineer. So I joke that if anybody finds really bad front end code today, it's probably me. Like that's how young we were back then. But yeah. Should I go ahead? Yeah, I'm gonna kick us off with actually a question. Because today we're gonna talk about AI, and one of the things that we talked about the last time we were on is AI can be a bit of a buzzword. It's almost becoming an expectation these days, right? Like, doesn't everybody have an AI solution? What are you doing with AI? How are you using it as an individual, as an organization? How do you make optimizations? And one of the things that we really wanted to do when we stepped into this space, and I say we because it was really Hugh and his team that were thinking, how do we employ this technology in a way that's truly going to be meaningful to solving our customer problems? And I think he started down a really good path. But I'm curious, I'll watch the comments. I want to put this ask out there because it's something I've reflected on. Where have you, as IT admins and as individuals, been able to employ an AI solution that has truly changed, evolved the way that you work, actually made your life easier, better? I'm curious to hear if, like the difference between, oh, this is cool and it creates small efficiencies versus a really meaningful shift in the way that you work and the way that you do things. Make scripts better. I can absolutely see that. Email notifications and documentations. Yes. I don't know about you. I have a really weird backstory. I was a high school teacher for a period of time. And if I had AI to help me respond to parent emails back then, I think it would have been so much easier. Okay, automation. So this is good, right? And this is, where does it make sense? GitHub Copilot. Okay. Okay. So there were some interesting insights. If you've not taken a look yet at the SME IT trends report, one of the things that did come up was AI. And I think it was 91% of admins that engaged in this survey said that AI was going to be a requirement of their organization within the next year. Keep the ideas coming in. I will be reviewing these. I might even want to ask questions of some of you, but this is destroying the earth. Okay. So On that note, when we really did step in to say where should we apply AI technology, one of the things that I know we've said before, and it is absolutely true, is when you make feature requests of JumpCloud product team, we listen and we pay attention. The second most highly requested area for requests is insights and reporting. So we've known this. We've known it needs attention. We knew that we need to dig in. It's over 150 requests that have been submitted in this area, and if you've submitted a request, you've seen the nice to have, important, or critical. It is the highest volume of critical requests that have come into JumpCloud today. And so what we started to do to unpack the insights and reporting requests is actually have some customer conversations. And we've spoken with over 40 admins right now to understand, what do you really need when you're talking about getting data out of JumpCloud? And just looking at those requests, this is a breakdown. It's a tiny bit dated, so it's not gospel. But by and large, reporting over just more directory insights or event alerting, because really it's kind of a step function, I think. Reporting ties into and supports event alerting or SIEM integrations we've heard about. Some people want longer data retention. And then again, scheduling and automation is going to be valuable if you have a reporting function that you can trust. So anyway, just giving you a little bit of an idea of how we started to break this down. And when we did talk to people, what we learned is a lot of the data is there, but it's really maddening to get at. So one example is understanding what software is installed on devices. And that's whether you are trying to get at it via the API or our UI, and you're clicking into each and every device and going to your software installed. And we heard horror stories around software installation. Not everybody wants to use PowerShell. We heard some challenges around commands and policy results being difficult, keeping OSs patched and up to date, MFA enrollments, just being able to track. So there are the different types of enrollments for MFA, and maybe other things that I need to pay attention to regarding MFA, like what it's enabled on. We heard people talking about application usage. So that could be software apps, that could be SaaS apps. And then often we heard that if I'm trying to get data out in a clean fashion, it's really challenging to do. Just being able to customize the output, particularly when you need it for an audit or something that needs to be coming as direct from the source as possible, that's quite a challenge. And then aggregate data, it'd be nice. So with that, I'm going to hand things over to Hugh to talk a little bit more about our start point and how we started to unpack this problem and solve for it.
Do you mind stopping your screen so I can share?
Yeah, I can do that.
Bing, bada, boom. There we go. Wicked. Cool. So following on from that, nicely, obviously the way you get data out of JumpCloud at the moment is obviously via the user interface, or if you've engaged with our API or even put together some PowerShell scripts or worked with our CSM team or been through the community, JumpCloud community to pull scripts off of there, you know that a lot of the time, you have to iterate through all the devices, you have to iterate through system insights, and these scripts can take quite a bit of time to sort of export data and get at it. And then once you've got all your data, it's then down to you to kind of amalgamate that data together, whether that's in Excel or another sort of business insights platform, and build reporting and metrics off of that. And then again, if you want to automate that in any fashion or start to build dashboards or anything else, you've obviously then got to start creating pipelines and adding all sorts of complexities into the workflows to get at that data and export it out of JumpCloud. And there's a lot of it. We have almost 300 separate tables in JumpCloud relating to various different bits of information. And you just ultimately want to be able to ask questions and get answers and not really worry about where the resources might exist within the API or what novel approaches you might have to take to filter that API to export the results out. And obviously, critically, you want that data to be accurate. And this is obviously one of the big challenges with large language models, is that they are specifically designed to basically pick the next most probable word in their response and pull that back to you, which is obviously no good for JumpCloud, because if we give you bad data, it's going to be data that you make bad decisions on, right? If you're not accurately being told the correct information, it can be disastrous, especially when that needs to be reported up for other business decisions. So the sort of the approach that we took with large language models, or AI, is instead of adopting the sort of the chat interface that you've seen all over the web, where you hook it into a set of APIs and you ask the AI, hey, I need a list of software that's installed, and then the AI looks through all the documentation on the back end and tries to come together with a plan to work out which APIs need to be called, and then that data is then returned and basically put into its memory, and then at the end it sort of amalgamates all that data together to try and forge an answer. And the problem with that is that you can not only end up with hallucinations based on the API calls that are being made, but also the data that's returned. That has to be fed back into the large language model over and over and over again. And again, you can kind of experience hallucinations with that. So the end result that you get, whilst it may or may not work, you're also potentially unsure of whether it's correct or not. And also, having these large language models have to work through and call all these APIs also is quite timely and quite costly. So we ended up launching a few months ago JumpCloud AI, whereby we're using large language models to take a question that you might have. So, which systems are running low on disk space, and we convert that into a database query, which we can then run on our back end. And we've been trialing this with a few customers. And these are the stats that we've got so far. So we've been averaging about 50 questions a day, quite a small, portion of customers. Accuracy varies somewhat, depending obviously on the complexity of the question. If it's quite simple, it works really, really well. But if you start to ask really complex questions, or even ask things that it's not even designed to do, we've seen a number of examples where people have asked a question like, why hasn't my system checked in within the last hour? And that's not something that we're aiming to solve with this. We're just purely trying to retrieve data from the database and show it to you in a tabular view. But we've had almost 3,000 unique questions asked now, and we've obviously been using those questions to reinforce the learning, so that the answers become better and better and better. And we've seen, on each iteration, a sort of a 2 to 3% improvement on that. So to give you a demo of this, so you can understand a little bit more what's happening. So this is the interface that we have at the moment. So we've got a really simple, question field here. Nothing like a chat styled interface. So you can't follow up with additional questions. This is just a one shot, ask your question, get an answer. And then if you've got a list of, or if you're part of multiple organizations, you've got a list here, and you can simply click query. So the question I'm asking here is, what's the remaining disk space across all my devices? And you can see here on the side, it generates the SQL query and then responds, formatted and everything else with the system name and the data that you've got. And then you've got the ability to toggle the view, select the columns that you want, and then also export that data in a variety of options too. So whilst we don't support everything in JumpCloud at the moment, most of it's based on user systems and system insights, which covers a pretty decent amount of use cases. So the typical way that you can kind of work through this and familiarize yourself with the platform is starting off with basic questions like, so how many users do I have? And you'll see again, select count from users, those that you're familiar with SQL, and you'll get the result down here. And then we can start to, build on this, right? So get me a list of devices, and this will obviously return a list of all your devices. But now I want to get, because there's a huge amount of data here, right? So now I want to start to and group by OS and version. And now I'm going to get obviously a summarized view of all of that data along with a total automatically. So you can see how you can start to like build these crews on top of each other. I might want to say, get me a list of software and the device. Let's get the host name. You run that query. And you can see that like we're not having to wait for a large language model to like go back and like reprocess all of the information, again and again and again and again. It's just able to generate it one time, run it against the database, and then return those results pretty quickly. And now I have a list of all of my software and the device. And just like in the devices example, I can group by the name of the software and the version to see what systems it's installed on. Maybe I'm hunting for like Chrome extensions or something similar to that. I can ask, what do you know about this IP address? I can ask, what versions of Chrome do I have? And it knows that this is software, so it's going to go and query the software table and get me back a list of all of the the Chrome versions. And then I can then append to the end of this, get me the device name, or get me the user that this, get me the user that's attached to this piece of software. And this is generally sort of, how you should sort of use it. Some people really start in too deep with this and sort of provide it with a paragraph of something they want to ask. But if you sort of build it up slowly, then you can see how it's starting to kind of map that back to the queries themselves, and then retrieve the data. And that's it really. That's JumpCloud AI. And like I said, you can export that data and do what you want with it. The challenge here, obviously, is that the question that you ask here and the query that's generated, this is the only part of the large language model where there could potentially be hallucinations, or you've asked a particular question where it can't, and this doesn't happen, but as an example, if I've asked for it to sort, by name or date or something, and it sorts it in the wrong direction, then for this particular example, you can sort of see that and identify it on the right. But because the query has been run, for a fact that the data being returned by the database is, accurate and can be reported on, rather than worrying about it having been rechurned around by a large language model and potentially not reflective of what's there. So what have been the outcomes so far? So as I mentioned before, we've collected 3,000 unique questions. These have been massively useful to help inform some of the work that's been going on with reporting, which we're going to talk about later, but also helping identify, questions that potentially people aren't able to ask within the JumpCloud user interface at the moment, and where that might relate to, future product improvements down the line, where we need to be able to surface, more components there. Again, the model's been improving sort of 2-3% every time we retrain it and remodel it, and this is providing like more coverage of all of the internal JumpCloud resources. So we've obviously had like lots of questions relating to devices. You can quite happily get very good results when you ask about devices, but if no one's asked a question about load averages or battery usage, then sometimes it can struggle. So we're always improving based on those types of questions. And I'll hand it back to Lindsey.
All right. So I'm gonna pick up where you left off, which is we still need people. We need you to make this better. Our JumpCloud customers engaging in this early proof of concept, and the reason being is that we're looking for what questions matter to you, so that we can make sure that the gaps in data that are preventing success get filled. We want to know what's important in terms of how you're asking questions and what you're trying to get at. We want to know if you can trust this tool, right? Are you feeling confident that you put in a question and you're able to actually see what kind of query is being constructed? And is that providing you the confidence to trust an AI tool that's performing this sort of task for you? And is it really helping you solve those critical needs? What solutions might it displace? And then how might it work into the product? And of course, as Hugh said, like, we've got to train this thing. And so if you think that this could be helpful in your organization, this is our plug to get involved. We do have, and I think shares. Go ahead.
Sorry, can I just add in that this is like very, 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 very early, and anyone wanting to participate in this should be aware of that as well. Lindsey can probably do more of a service on that one.
No, you may have heard us speak about it before as a beta, if you've seen us. And the reality is this is alpha. This is pre-beta. This is early stage. So just know that we're looking to make sure that we're communicating with you all accurately where we're at with it. And if you do want to engage, here's a whole slew. I'm going to drop some of these links in the chat too. Not as links, but you can get there. Might recommend. Yes, Kelly. But there's actually a lot of power here. What Hugh showed you is really simplistic. But what we've seen in terms of responses from some of the people when they actually are able to get data that they've otherwise had to run multiple scripts to get out of our databases, it can bring a lot of elegance. So if you think you want to get involved, please do. You can ask your CSM. You can email us with this nice live feedback at jumpcloud.com. Distro, you can go to the JumpCloud AI site itself. And then we also are in the lounge. So there's lots of ways you can get a hold of us. And in the past, I know Becky has helped redirect people if you forget all of this and you don't write it down. Thank you, Becky. I think we had a handful, 8 or so people from the last time we spoke to you all that joined the list. So honor related or any questions before we move on? Because I have other things to share. We have other things to share that are a little further along. Okay.
Ooh, that sounds intriguing. And please, you can go ahead and post if you think of something, go ahead and post it in the comments and we can circle back.
Good one, Kelly. And I think Hugh can answer that really well. What happens to the questions we ask, Hugh?
Yeah, so we collect all the questions and we collect all of the SQL responses. We don't obviously collect any of the data, but the questions and the SQL are all sanitized, and then we put those back into the model to help it identify and make sure the responses are accurate and just sort of continually improving it.
I love what Eric's saying here. Used it last night to pull a list of devices with a certain application installed, showing the version that was installed. It was super helpful. Yay. We love to hear that.
Oh, thanks, Eric.
Oh, here's
so the data doesn't leave the JumpCloud production environment. It all stays on JumpCloud as you know it. All we're doing is on our model, we generate the question and we generate the SQL. Sorry, we send that over to JumpCloud to obviously execute it and bring it back.
Yeah, I think that answers your question, Kelly, as well.
It doesn't leave JumpCloud. It's sent to a third party or anything like that. But anyway, I'll continue to answer the questions in the chat because we're getting slightly squeezed on time.
All right. So moving on. Haha, revamp of reporting in JumpCloud. So when when we say that there were lots of requests coming in around reporting, it felt like a prime place for us to dig in because of the beautiful synergy between the AI technologies that we were evaluating and real problems that you all are facing. And we know that we need to evolve reporting in general in JumpCloud. And there could be some relationship between AI and reporting and how we end up bringing it into the product eventually. This is a potential, but just to give you an idea of where we're starting today, if you go to the reporting section of your admin portal, you're going to find a little drop down. We've got 8 pre-canned reports is what we're calling them. If you click on one of them, you're going to see a little preview, and then you have to export it to create a download of that CSV or JSON that you can pull out. It's not the prettiest thing. It was our first real attempt at reports a few years back, and it's kind of been sitting there on a shelf. So we are going to be doing some work here. We are doing work here, actually, and we're going to be looking more at 15 or so, what we're calling pre-built reports. So think of it as, you can come and pull something off the shelf, a report off the shelf, click into it, and get a live view, a live list view of the results of that report that you can then filter down. Maybe you want to be looking at a software report and look at specific software. Maybe you want to customize the columns that you're seeing, add or remove. Maybe you want to click through on a specific device and troubleshoot what's going on it, or a certain user. Then save those customizations and download it, maybe once, maybe every month. So this is essentially the evolution that you're going to see coming out here. And why we know you need to get quickly at the data that you're needing in order to really perform 2 things. One is just to inform day-to-day IT operations. A lot of admins just need to get the list of things that they need to go and action upon. Or I know a good percentage of our admins are actually needing that point in time report that can demonstrate compliance and or a security posture. And you're having to hand this off to an auditor, maybe your CISO, maybe your organization, to prove that your JumpCloud environment is in a certain state. So late breaking, and this is like I said, it's early stage. I'm going to show you a recording of a not production environment. The first thing that we're doing is trying to deliver some reports that are solving for really painful parts of your experience. So here very soon, when you click on that little report drop down, you're going to see that we have an OS version report. We have a software inventory report, and we have a user account health. And I'm going to go ahead and play this through because, like I said, it's going to look we're using the same framework that we have today for this first release. So then I can export my CSV. If I go look at it, then I'm going to see that same spreadsheet that I have today for other reports. So it's not the most beautiful thing, but it can get you. We know software is data that people have been really looking forward to. So that's a teaser. The AI is probably a little bit prettier. I'm actually going to stop sharing right now, and what I'm going to hand things over to Julie to show you a bit more of like hey, we're going to use this thing that we have today to make it a little bit better, but we want to make it more better with a better experience. So.
Okay, thanks, Lindsey. So as you heard, there's an effort that's already underway to where we're adding some new highly requested reports to our available reporting section. And so what I'm going to talk about is how we're rethinking the experience here. And Lindsey sort of touched on this, but we want to provide a more interactive experience in JumpCloud so you can actually fine tune the query that's behind the report and see and get at the data that you're actually wanting to get to, and actually do that all within JumpCloud. So I'm going to go through a couple slides, and then I'm actually going to pull up some designs to just demonstrate what this might look like. So the idea is we want to revamp our report section. And this is where you'll continue to access all the JumpCloud pre-built reports, but you'll also be able to find those new reports that are being created. I think we're also looking at enhancing some of our existing reports so that more highly requested columns will be available. But the idea is once you open up a report and select it, you'll be able to actually view, it may be a preview, we may have a limit of like the first 500 records or so, but you can actually view in JumpCloud what that report looks like, edit the columns, apply filters, and then download and save those customizations. So what that might actually look like, I'll just go ahead and pull up. This is a design, so there's nothing really real behind this right now, and it will give a sense of how we're thinking about this. We are still in the process of planning and really defining this, so definitely an opportunity for feedback here. This might look slightly different as we actually roll it out. But what we have is our reports page now includes that list that was previously in a dropdown. That should be an expanded list of available JumpCloud reports. When opening up, I can then go into that preview. In this example, this report is already grouped by the software name and the software version. So I can get a sense in the software inventory report of what types of software and versions our device fleet have installed. So if I want to drill in on a particular software and version, I can click into a number here and then actually see a list of all the devices that have this version of Chrome installed. And I can scroll through and see all of the available columns. I can actually apply edits to the columns. So if I want to remove some, maybe add something new, I can apply that here. And then I should see my newly added column is available. Filtration is another piece where we'll have a set of default filters that you can apply and actually get that list down to, or get that report down to what you're looking for. And then from here, you'll continue to be able to export. So if you want to get all of that into a CSV or JSON format, you can also save. So if I don't want to have to apply those customizations every time, I can save a new custom report, and that will be available in my custom reports tab. And I'm seeing that the text is pretty difficult to read. Apologies for that. That was a pretty quick overview of everything. But I can, if there are particular screens that we want to go back to, I can try to go back and make anything larger. And that's it. I'll hand it back to you, Lindsey.
I think that's actually, that concludes what we're going to talk about. Like, this is, as I said, it's work in progress. So the offer for Nathan holds for everyone. If you do want to take a look at designs, have a closer look, give us some feedback, some early stage feedback about what's actually coming, we are happy to get on a call with you and take a look at it. Yeah. Yeah. Saving customizations. I know scheduling was another thing that came up in the chat. And I do just want to acknowledge that we've heard scheduling as an ask from a few people out there. And so there is a short list of things that we know that people are going to want from this as a continued effort. Not in this release, but please do continue to let us know.
And Julie, if it's possible, maybe we could take some screenshots of those if the powers that be will let us, because I know sometimes when we're previewing something we can't do that, but maybe we could take a couple of screenshots and I can post those in the recap that I usually do of sessions like this, and then that way we can put those in there so Nathan and others that want to see the text a little bit better can
I think it was my demo.
I think it was what Julie was just showing, where Nathan was saying that the text was hard to read. So I think it was some of the stuff there.
Oh,
yeah, he's
okay.
saying Julie's.
Sorry.
Yeah, because sometimes when we're showing those, those screens of the product, it's tough because it's so small.
It kind of scales a certain way on my screen, but happy to take some screenshots. I will caveat that the data within the report is all kind of made up. So there might be some quirks that you find, but happy to share screenshots.
Okay. Yeah, and I can post those, and that way we can always just put a disclaimer that, hey, this is not real data, but this is an example of what it could look like. But I think everybody here understands that, but we'll put that in there for someone who might stumble across it later. Any other questions in there? I'm not seeing any. I think Hugh was pretty great about grabbing those as we were going along. Yeah, I love that. Exciting stuff. Yeah, we always use Jake saying mock data only. Yeah, we only use mock data when we're doing these. We always have example. I love it when Tom shows his examples because they're always based on Richmond AFC. So all of the names and everything he has in there is always, Ted Lasso, Roy Kent, Rebecca Welton, and all of those. So they're fun. All right, since we have a couple minutes left, we could hop over to IT news. We've got some interesting things in there. I keep seeing a note that someone wants to come on stage. I think someone might have clicked that accidentally, but say it in the chat if you really want to come on stage and say something. We'll consider that. All right, so again, these headlines are just things that catch my eye that are tech related in some way. So I try to keep them relevant. But if you see things in the news that you want to discuss, then feel free to, let us know during the show or ping me ahead of time, and I'll be happy to include them in my notes here. One thing, one of the headlines, Google and Meta reportedly teamed up for ads targeting young teens. They advertise Instagram to minor YouTube users, as reported by the Financial Times. Apparently, Google worked with Meta to roll out ads that targeted young teens, even if it's against Google's rules. According to the Financial Times, based on the documents seen by the publication, Google worked on a marketing project designed to advertise Instagram to YouTube users within the 13 to 17-year-old range. Google had blocked age-based ad targeting for users under 18 years ago, but the company reportedly found and used a loophole in their own rules. Since they couldn't go for the demographic they wanted to reach, they instead targeted a group of users Google had labeled as unknown. Google staff proposed the group to Meta, the Times said, because the company had data points to prove that a large number of users under the label are below 18 years in age. The company even reportedly told Meta that the daily engagement that the daily engagement it gets from 13 to 70-year-old users exceeds TikToks and Instagrams. The information says using this loophole is against Google's rules as well, since it has policies against proxy targeting. So, yeah, Urvishi's saying apparently they used all the uncategorized audiences and some other app data. What's weird to me about this is not just that Meta targeted them, it's that Google kind of handed it to them and suggested it. That just seems really strange and odd. So I'm disappointed. Oh, and say hi to Sally here. She is joining us for a little bit today. Yeah, and Kelly, right. Kelly's takeaway. Google found a loophole and used it instead of closing it. I mean, yeah, that's a big problem. And yes, happy belated International Cat Day, since it was yesterday. So she's appearing to make it known that it was Cat Day yesterday. All right. Let's see. Next headline. For those of you that like, like vintage software or preserving things so they don't go by the wayside completely, a sci-fi writer released a free archive of legendary word processor used by George R.R. Martin. Now, I'm not sure why Gizmodo decided to use George R.R. Martin when Ralph Ellison and Anne Rice and Robert Sawyer used this. I mean, because I think a lot of people are incredibly unhappy with George R.R. Martin since he continues to do all these other things and not finish his series. But we'll move past that. I actually have not really heard of this word processor. I use other things instead. But what they're saying on Gizmodo, the old way still have value. WordStar, an MS-DOS-based word processing program that first released in 1978, can live a little longer thanks to the archiving efforts of one of its biggest fans, Hugo and Nebula award-winning author Robert J. Sawyer. Writers tend to romance the objects they use to craft their work. What? No, we don't. The pen, the pad, the IBM Selectric, and even the Remington SL3 is an object of affection for various writers. And apparently this software helped writers, and they all sang its praises. And Sawyer decided to release a complete archive of the final version of WordStar, along with all of its manuals. Apparently the manuals were over 1,000 pages. He scanned it from his own copies, and then he included the WordStar program and extensive resources on how to use it. Kind of neat that he included MS-DOS emulators in the archive to help get WordStar up and running. And kind of neat that he's trying to preserve this tool that apparently everybody likes to use. I have not used that before, but it makes me kind of curious. And Urvashi said she just looked at the WordStar UI. Yes, in the article, it actually gives a quick screenshot of it. It takes me back to WordPerfect days and stuff like that. But Kelly says he actually still uses it on a computer that can't connect to the internet. I saw this story years ago, and his publisher has to have a particular computer still maintained in the office for his work. Okay, that maybe I'll just stick to Scrivener because I kind of like that and how it does. So it might be fun to just check out just for kicks and giggles. Okay, so last week we talked about Apple Intelligence as our topic. Tom was on and we talked a little bit about that. So I thought this article would be interesting for you all. An analyst is predicting a monthly fee for Apple Intelligence. So what Gizmodo is saying here is, well, it's meant to be a big revolution in how users interact with their most recent iPhones and Macs. It's coming in pieces over the course of this and next year. And the outlet that's talking about this pointed to researchers at Counterpoint Research and CCS Insight that Apple has plenty of precedent for making users sign up for subscriptions, and they surmised it might be part of Apple One, which is a $20 a month subscription for multiple services like Apple Music and 2 terabytes of iCloud storage. Apple has a track record for supplying paid features that should be free and free features that it probably should make users pay for. They're saying that Apple Intelligence will need to be free to start. Otherwise, it would remain a gatekept feature that won't actually entice users to buy, one of the latest iPhones, like 15 or 16. So that is really interesting that they're predicting that it'll start out free and then go paid. What was funny to me was in the comments on that article, somebody said, yeah, go ahead and have it paid, Apple, and that way it's easy to opt out of if you don't want it. You don't pay for it, then you don't have to use it. So let's see. I loved that they tried to charge for chargers, or are they still doing that? I think, Urvashi, the last in the iPhones I saw, they would give people cables. But if you wanted the charging brick that used to come with the iPhone, you now have to buy those separately. And Kelly says they still do that. They just aren't the only game in town anymore. I like how they have started making braided cables for like my latest MacBook. It's a braided cable, and I like that much better. Otherwise, yeah, I would just rather buy something third party that's not going to break or crack right at where the part where it plugs in connects, because every single Apple cable I have had does that. That's that little inflection point where it just wears, and I have so many of them that either have electrical tape or duct tape that I've put on them just to keep them a little sturdier there. And Kelly says everything using the same charger is magical. It is, but it's weird that now that they've gone back to the MagSafe, I can use the USB-C on my computer if I want to, so I can use the same for everything, but now I'm back to having multiple chargers again, so it's a little weird. And Rob says, outside the US, it was really common to not include a power adapter. The issue is they haven't reduced the price of the devices, and they pitch it as we're saving the environment. 11D1. Yeah, you are right. And Jonathan says all of my laptop USB chargers are disappearing. Do you have children by any chance, Jonathan? Because that's what happens to me. My youngest absconds with everything. I was just at one of our events Wednesday, and I brought home a really cool metal collapsible straw. And first thing, as soon as I walked in the door, he saw it and went, "Ooh, what's that?" Because it's a little carrying case. And I set it by the sink to wash it. I later found it on the couch next to where he sits watching TV, because he has found it fascinating, because he'll pull it out of the case and then extend it and play with it and put it back in and collapse it. So yeah, I'm waiting for it to disappear again and go somewhere where even he doesn't remember where he put it. So that took not even 5 minutes before he stole it. So Urvashi says my mom wanted one charger in every room. I pretty much do that because that way I don't have to go search them out all the time. I will. Lindsey, you're shaking your head. Do you do that too?
Absolutely do, and hopefully the cat and the dog don't, find it a playful, strange floor.
I try to put them in a place where they're kind of up off of the floor. But then again, I also keep reading glasses in multiple places and maybe in every single room and maybe in multiple parts of the room, so that if I set a pair down and don't carry it from room to room, I can easily find another pair. And it's not because I lose them easily. It's because I don't really feel like walking back into the other room to grab them. So, yeah. Urvashi, that hurts. Because I don't forget that they're on my head or my shirt. I really don't. I like to have backup pairs. So how dare you? And Kelly says, I bought my mom some wireless chargers to improve her experience. So now she has multiple chargers and is much happier. Yeah, I have a wireless one here by my desk because I can do my phone and my AirPods. And I have one by my bed, and all the rest are just plug in. But my kids and I have different phones, so my phone charger does not work for them, which I kind of like that because they can't steal my charger and use it. All three in one place. Yes, I do, especially here in my office. iPhone charger, although I don't use it anymore and I need to just give it to my kids. MagSafe, USB-C. Let's see. Although I do have an Apple mouse that requires like the iPhone charger. You know, the one that you the Magic Mouse that when you charge it, you can't use it because it goes on the bottom of it. You know which one I'm talking about?
Yes. That drives me crazy.
Yes.
It's been awesome to join today, and I'm gonna have to peace out just a couple minutes early. So I just wanted to say thank you out loud. Really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
absolutely. No, not a problem, Lindsey. In fact, we all need to get going. And thank you all for joining us. Julie, it was great to have you as a first-time guest, but I know you've been in the audience before. Hugh, great to have you back again. Lindsey, you too. Everyone, I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you all next week. Take care, everyone.